Ilara stood in the middle of the living room, her heart racing as she clutched a small, shimmering locket in her hand. She had always kept it hidden, a precious relic from her past that held secrets of her true self. But now, her husband, Marcus, glared at her with rage and betrayal in his eyes. The argument had escalated quickly, the tension thickening like storm clouds gathering above. "You lied to me, Ilara," Marcus shouted, his voice echoing against the walls. "All this time, you've been hiding who you really are." If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more, and tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. The accusation stung, piercing through the walls she had carefully built around her heart. Ilara's chest tightened as memories flooded back. Whispers of long-lost tales, dark corners of a life she had barely begun to understand. She had hoped to leave those shadows behind when she married Marcus. But secrets have a way of clawing their way back into the light. "I didn't want to hurt you," Ilara cried, desperate for him to understand. "I thought I could make a new life here. With you." Marcus shook his head, his expression hardening. "You think I can just accept this? You're different from me. You've been playing pretend while I've been living a lie." The truth hung heavily between them. Ilara closed her eyes for a moment, wishing she could escape to a place where everything was simple and straightforward. She had dreamed of love and happiness, but felt trapped under the weight of her past. The magic that ran through her veins, the lineage that bound her. "Get out!" Marcus spat suddenly, his voice venomous. "I don't want you here anymore." Ilara's breath caught in her throat as if the world had tilted off its axis. The man she loved, the man she thought would always stand by her side, was now throwing her away like a broken toy. Tears stung her eyes as she turned away from him, feeling the sting of rejection wrapping around her heart like an iron shackle. Gathering her courage, she stepped outside into the cool night air. The streetlights cast a dim glow that flickered like distant stars, but they offered little comfort now. As she walked away from their home, every step felt heavy with loss. The world around her seemed to blur. The sounds of laughter and joy from nearby houses only intensified her sense of isolation. What would she do now? With nowhere to go and no one to turn to, Ilara wandered aimlessly through the streets. Each familiar landmark felt foreign under the weight of her despair. She clutched the locket tighter, wishing it could somehow offer answers or transport her to safety. Suddenly, a rustle behind her made Ilara pause. She turned quickly, scanning the shadows for any signs of danger. A chill pricked at the back of her neck as she took an unsteady breath. The dark alleyway to her right seemed inviting yet menacing at the same time. Instinctively, she knew that she shouldn't enter there alone. But something drew her closer, an unexplainable pull that whispered promises of something beyond understanding. Before she could make up her mind, a figure emerged from the shadows. A tall man with piercing blue eyes that glimmered like stars against the night sky. He moved with an elegance that seemed otherworldly, his presence both intimidating and magnetic. "Who are you?" Ilara managed to ask, though uncertainty quivered in her voice. "I am Dorian," he replied softly, stepping closer until he was just within reach. "And I know who you truly are." Ilara felt a shiver run down her spine at his words. How could he know anything about her? She raised an eyebrow defiantly, but couldn't hide the flicker of fear in her heart. "What do you mean?" she asked cautiously. "Your husband cannot see what lies within you." Dorian's gaze softened as he studied her face intently. But I can. His voice was velvety smooth, yet powerful, wrapping around Alara like a warm embrace on a cold night. For reasons unknown to her, she felt drawn to him, a feeling that simultaneously frightened and intrigued her. You're not just some stranger, Dorian continued, taking another step forward. There's magic in your blood, a legacy waiting to be awakened. Alara's pulse quickened as his words sunk in like deep roots breaking through the soil. What did this man know? What did he mean about magic? As questions swirled in her mind like leaves caught in a gust of wind, one thing became clear. This chance encounter might change everything for Alara, and perhaps lead her toward discovering who she really was meant to be. Alara stumbled through the dimly lit streets, her heart a heavy stone in her chest. The cool night air wrapped around her like a shroud, but it offered little relief from the turmoil raging inside. Each step felt like a reminder of everything she had lost: her home, her love, and the person she thought she was. As she glanced around, the familiar sights of her town transformed into shadows of memories that tormented her. With every passing moment, Alara felt increasingly abandoned. The world around her spun in shades of gray, and laughter from the nearby houses rang out like distant bells, echoing a happiness she could no longer grasp. Her grip on the locket tightened, as if it were the only tangible link to her past. A past that now felt like a cruel joke. She had tried so hard to build a life with Marcus, but all that effort seemed utterly wasted. Was everything between them built on lies? The question haunted her thoughts as images of their shared moments flickered through her mind. Happy smiles, tender kisses, dreams woven together in quiet corners of their home. How could he turn those memories into weapons against her? The ache in her chest simmered into a burning anger at his betrayal. Why couldn't he accept me? She murmured to herself, feeling lost in the shadows. It wasn't just that he didn't understand. It was that he couldn't see beyond their ordinary life. She felt as if she were part of a story that had grown too complicated for him to follow. As she wandered aimlessly, tears streamed down her cheeks, blurring her vision. She wiped them away angrily, unwilling to submit to grief. She was stronger than this. But deep down, self-doubt seeped into her mind like ink spilling across a page. What did Dorian know about her? Was there truly magic within her blood? Or was it just another fantasy spun from despair? Uncertainty gnawed at her insides. Alara turned down a narrow alleyway, lined with towering buildings that loomed over her like ancient sentinels. In the stillness of the night, the silence felt oppressive, as though even the walls were mourning alongside her. She paused and leaned against one cool surface for support, trying to ground herself amidst the chaos swirling in her mind. Memories surged back uninvited. Whispers from long ago about an enchanted lineage and tales of transformation were often recounted by forgotten voices in dark corners of her childhood. Yet when those stories had been told to young Alara, they had felt almost disconnected from reality. Like fairy tales meant for others, but never meant for her. Now those tales seemed both enticing and terrifying under the weight of truth. They had been warnings masked as dreams. In that moment of vulnerability, anger shifted slowly to profound sorrow as she thought about Marcus again. The man who once promised to love and cherish her despite any obstacles. Had he ever really loved her at all? Or had he merely fallen for an illusion crafted from carefully chosen pieces of herself? Determined not to crumble entirely, Alara pushed off the wall and started walking again, each footfall echoing in the hollow night air. She turned a corner and found herself in front of an old bookstore with its warm light, spilling onto the street like golden honey. The inviting glow caught her eye, sparking a flicker of nostalgia for happier times spent getting lost among the pages of stories filled with magic and adventure. But just as quickly as that warmth arose, it slipped away as reality overwhelmed her once more. There was no cozy little bookstore waiting for her anymore. Only an uncertain future steeped in mystery and trials she hadn't even begun to fathom. With a shaky breath trying to bolster non-existent strength within herself, Elara continued down alleyways unseen by most. Places vibrant with shadows, hiding echoes of laughter long abandoned, or dreams decaying beneath layers of dust. In this lonely journey through darkened streets, teeming with heartache and loss, lay an undeniable truth. She would have to discover who she truly was, if there was any hope to reclaim what had been taken from her. As Elara wandered deeper into the night's embrace, a mixture of dread and anticipation hung heavy in the air. She wondered if destiny awaited just around each corner, and whether perhaps somewhere within this darkness lay a glimmering light beckoning her toward it. Elara continued to wander through the quiet streets, her mind swirling with confusion and despair. The night held an eerie stillness, broken only by the scuffing of her shoes against the pavement as she walked deeper into darkness. She felt vulnerable, exposed in a world where she had once thought she belonged. Shadows danced around her, and the chill in the air sent shivers down her spine. With each passing moment, a sense of foreboding settled over her like a heavy fog, growing thicker with each heartbeat. Suddenly, a distant sound made her stop. A scuffle, perhaps. A muffled cry echoed from a nearby alleyway. Elara's heart raced as she peered into the darkness, her instincts on high alert. Though she was tempted to ignore it and keep walking, something inside urged her to investigate. Caution tinged with a spark of curiosity drew her closer. With hesitant steps, she approached the alley's entrance. The shadows swallowed her whole, and she squinted into the gloom, trying to make out what was happening within. To her horror, a group of rough-looking figures emerged from the darkness, encircling a woman who looked terrified. Elara's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't just stand by and watch. "Hey, leave her alone!" Elara shouted, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. The men turned at her call, and she felt a rush of fear flood her veins as they glared at her with malice. "Mind your business," one of them sneered, stepping toward her. Elara's heart raced, and she took a step back into the shadows. But before she could react further, an unexpected figure appeared beside her. He moved almost like a wisp of smoke, fluid, deliberate, and impossibly graceful. Dorian, the man who had spoken to her before, stood there, his piercing blue eyes fixed on the trouble unfolding before them. "Let her go," he commanded, his voice low and steady, carrying an undeniable authority that sent an inexplicable thrill through Elara. "Who do you think you are?" One of the assailants scoffed, brandishing his fists threateningly. In an instant, Dorian's demeanor shifted. He stepped forward, and in that moment, the air thickened with tension. "I am Dorian, and you will respect my wishes," he warned, his voice dropping to a growl. The men hesitated for just a moment before they shared disgruntled glances with one another. It was enough for Dorian to seize the opportunity. With a swift movement that seemed almost too fast for Elara to follow, he advanced upon them, his presence emanating an aura of power that made the scene feel like it was unfolding in slow motion. Dorian's eyes glinted dangerously as he confronted the nearest man. The wind seemed to shift around them, as if nature itself bowed to his will. The villains blinked in shock at this unexpected turn, but were not intelligent enough to flee. Instead, they lunged for him, only to find themselves stopped short by an unseen force. Before Alara could fully comprehend what was happening, Dorian dispatched them with effortless ease, disarming them with swift movements that left no doubt about his dominance. As the men stumbled back in confusion and fear rushed into their eyes, they lost their bravado and fled into the night. Alara stood frozen in awe as Dorian turned back towards her, his expression shifting from fierce to something softer, almost warm. "Are you unharmed?" he asked gently, concern etched across his striking features. I think so," she stammered, still trying to process what had just happened. The realization struck her. He had saved her. Dorian stepped closer and studied her intently. "You were brave to intervene," he said, his tone now rich with respect. "But you must be careful. Not all shadows harbor friendly intentions." Her heart pounded, not just from the fright of the encounter, but from disbelief at this mysterious figure standing before her, a man whose very presence stirred something within her that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. "I don't understand," she confessed, shaking slightly as adrenaline coursed through her veins. "How did you—" "There is much we need to discuss," Dorian interrupted softly, yet firmly. "Your life has changed more than you realize." With those words echoing in the alleyway that still hummed from their confrontation, Alara felt a mix of fear and hope swell within her chest, like dawn breaking through the dark. Dorian was offering not just protection, but the chance for answers. Answers about herself that she had long sought, but never truly understood. As they stood there in the aftermath of chaos, transformed by newfound possibilities, Alara realized that her path had dramatically shifted again. This time, it might lead to unlocking truths buried deep within her past, revealing the legacy that awaited her just beyond the shadows. As the echoes of the confrontation faded into the night, Alara felt a swirl of emotions racing through her. The uncertainty that had clung to her like a second skin began to lift slightly under Dorian's piercing gaze. A mix of fear and curiosity fueled her intuition, warning her that the moment they shared would change everything, as if their lives had collided in this dark alleyway for a reason. Dorian regarded her with a knowing expression, one that sent a shiver through her spine. "You still don't understand, do you?" His voice was steady but low, as if he were afraid to break the fragile moment between them. "You are more than you believe yourself to be." Alara frowned, trying to gather her thoughts amidst the confusion swirling in her mind. "What do you mean?" she asked cautiously, inching closer as if drawn by an invisible thread. "How could you possibly know anything about me?" His lips curled into a faint smile, enigmatic and alluring. "I have watched you for longer than you realize, Alara. There is magic in your blood, a legacy that has been hidden from you." His words hung in the air between them, like an incantation, stirring something deep within her. The stories from her childhood, once dismissed as fanciful tales, rushed back to her like echoes from a forgotten dream. She thought of whispers about ancestors who wielded extraordinary powers and spirits who danced beneath the moonlight. A flicker of recognition lit up in her heart. Perhaps those stories weren't mere fabrications after all. I don't understand," she stammered, pushing back against the onrush of emotions. Her hands trembled, half clutching the locket around her neck. It felt heavier now, as though it held secrets just waiting to be unveiled. Dorian stepped closer, his presence both comforting and unsettling at once. "You feel it, don't you? That spark within you? The weight of what has been kept from you? His voice lowered further, becoming almost a whisper as he leaned in slightly. There are forces at play, old and powerful things that seek you out because you are destined to embrace your true self. The shadows seemed to curve around them, wrapping tightly as if trying to protect Ilara from the weight of his revelations. She searched Dorian's face for signs of deception, but found only sincerity reflecting back at her. "What are you saying?" Ilara asked, a mixture of anticipation and fear bubbling up inside her. "What does it all mean? And why now?" "Because your life has changed," Dorian replied with conviction. "Your husband cast you out because he feared what he could not understand. But now is your time to discover who you truly are. Darkness can bring forth light, a force too potent to ignore." Ilara's heart raced at his words. They filled her with hope, yet instilled a sense of urgency deep within her soul. The pain of recent days began to morph into something entirely different, a call to action. "How do I start?" she asked breathlessly, gripping Dorian's gaze as though anchoring herself to his resolve. "You must be willing to face your fears," he said softly but firmly. "I will guide you through the shadows and teach you what it means to awaken the magic within." As she stood there in the alley, the cool air wrapping around them like a cloak, Ilara felt something shift inside her. It was as if a door had creaked open in her mind, revealing possibilities she never even dared to dream existed. The burden of loneliness and betrayal began to lessen as anticipation took root in its place. "What if I'm not strong enough?" she questioned, vulnerability seeping into her voice. Dorian smiled gently, irrepressible confidence shining through his demeanor. "Strength is not solely measured by power. It's also in the choices we make and in embracing ourselves fully, flaws and all. You are stronger than you realize." The magic that hovered tantalizingly close felt like a promise, one that urged Ilara to reclaim what had always belonged to her. With each word Dorian spoke, she felt pieces of herself reawakening, blooming like flowers breaking through frost-laden earth. "Together," Dorian murmured, reaching out and placing a hand over hers lightly. "We will unravel your past and reshape your future." Ilara nodded slowly, determination blooming within her heart, like a fragile rose bursting forth against the odds. She recognized that she was standing at the precipice of something profound, a journey toward rediscovering herself and awakening the untapped powers lying dormant within. As they exited the alley and ventured back into the night, darkness now feeling like an ally rather than an enemy, Ilara realized she was no longer just wandering aimlessly through life's shadows. She was stepping boldly toward the brightness waiting on the horizon, guided by someone who believed in her potential more than she ever had before. As Ilara and Dorian stepped out of the alley and into the cool night, a sense of urgency hung in the air. They walked side by side, the city sprawling around them, illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights that flickered like stars against the darkness. Ilara felt an unspoken bond forming between them, a connection that hinted at shared destinies. "Tell me about yourself," she urged, breaking the silence that had settled around them. "Who are you, really? You mentioned watching me for years. How is that even possible?" Dorian glanced sideways at her, his expression thoughtful. He seemed to weigh his words carefully, as if revealing too much too soon might disrupt the fragile trust they were building. "I am known as Dorian, the Vampire King," he finally said, his voice imbued with a gravity that made Ilara's heart skip a beat. "The Vampire King?" she echoed, her mind racing with disbelief and intrigue. "But I thought the vampires were just stories." myths to scare children. They are indeed stories, he replied, but they hold pieces of truth. My reign extends beyond what most mortals can comprehend. For centuries, I have watched over my kingdom and its people, ensuring balance between the realms of light and dark. Alara's curiosity deepened as she listened. And what does that have to do with me? Why have you been watching me? Dorian paused, his gaze drifting toward the horizon, where the moon hung full and bright. Your lineage is intertwined with my own in ways you cannot yet see. You are descended from a line of powerful beings, those who possess magic beyond human comprehension. But your gifts were hidden from you, kept dormant for your protection. What do you mean? Alara asked, feeling a mix of awe and confusion. How could I possibly be connected to you or to any kind of magic? He turned to face her, intensity sparking in his eyes. Your ancestors were once guardians of this world, wielding powers that shaped destinies. But those abilities became feared over time, leading to a concerted effort to erase their existence from memory. Your bloodline was forced into hiding, but I have always known of your potential. Alara's heart raced as she processed his words. She had always felt different, but had chalked it up to her imagination. Could it truly be possible that she came from a lineage of magic? So all those stories I heard as a child, they were real? Yes, Dorian affirmed gently. But they were twisted into fables meant to frighten rather than educate. Your family's history was buried deep to protect you from those who would seek to exploit your abilities for their own gain. As they continued walking, Dorian shared tales of his reign as the Vampire King, the struggles he faced against dark forces seeking to disrupt the balance he fought so hard to maintain. He spoke of alliances forged in ancient times and battles fought under the cover of night. Alara listened, entranced by his rich narratives filled with valor and sacrifice. I have watched you from afar, he continued, his tone shifting slightly as he spoke more personally. I saw your struggles and your strength in the face of adversity. Even when you were unaware of your true self, you shone brightly in the darkness. And yet my husband cast me out, Alara said quietly, her heart pinching at the memory of Marcus's rejection. Dorian regarded her with a mix of empathy and determination. His fear blinded him to who you truly are. But now that you know, you must reclaim your birthright. Together, we can unlock the power within you and defend against those who would seek to harm you. Alara felt a rush of emotions, fear mingled with excitement, as she considered Dorian's words. This was her chance to break free from the confines of her past and embrace something extraordinary. But how? What if she wasn't strong enough? You mentioned balance, she said softly. What if I can't control this magic you're talking about? Dorian stopped walking and turned to face her fully, his expression earnest and reassuring. Strength comes not only from power, but also from understanding oneself. We will navigate this path together. You will learn to harness your abilities and wield them responsibly. Alara looked up at him, feeling a spark of hope igniting within her chest. You really believe I can do this? I know you can, he affirmed with unwavering confidence. You are meant for greatness, Alara. The shadows may seem daunting now, but they are merely a stage for your light to shine even brighter. As they resumed their walk through the city streets, Alara felt different, changed somehow by Dorian's presence and his belief in her potential. The night still held mystery around every corner, but now it felt less like an inescapable void and more like an adventure waiting to unfold. with each step forward beside Dorian, the Vampire King, Alara began to understand that her journey was only just beginning. It was a path paved with challenges and revelations that could ultimately lead her back to herself and toward the destiny she was meant to fulfill. As they continued to walk through the moonlit streets, Alara felt the weight of her past gradually lifting, replaced by a burgeoning bond with Dorian. The air between them crackled with unspoken understanding, as if they were two halves of a single story finally coming together. With each step, Alara glimpsed not only Dorian's strength and confidence, but also the vulnerability that lingered just beneath his powerful facade. They found a secluded bench in a nearby park, lit softly by the light filtering through the trees. The gentle rustle of leaves surrounded them, creating a tranquil cocoon away from the bustling city. Dorian gestured for her to sit, and she did so, acutely aware of how much this moment felt like an oasis amidst the chaos of her life. "Tell me more about yourself," Alara encouraged, finally feeling comfortable enough to probe deeper into Dorian's life. "You mentioned you've been watching over your kingdom for centuries. What has that been like?" Dorian leaned back slightly and let out a contemplative sigh. "It has been both a burden and a privilege," he admitted, his voice steady as he gazed into the distance. "To carry the weight of responsibility is challenging. It means ensuring peace while dealing with threats from those who desire power at any cost." Alara nodded, sensing the gravity behind his words. "That sounds lonely," she said softly. His eyes flickered with a hint of sadness as he met her gaze again. "At times it is." He paused for a moment before continuing. "The position I hold can be isolating. Many see me as an entity rather than a person. They fear what they do not understand." Understanding washed over Alara like a tide. She could relate to that feeling all too well. Her own husband had cast her aside due to ignorance and fear. "But you've chosen this path," she said thoughtfully. "You've made sacrifices for your people." "Yes," he answered, shifting closer to her on the bench, now bathed in silvery moonlight. "Yet, even rulers need allies. People who truly see you beyond your title." Alara felt an ache form in her chest at his admission, recognizing something deep inside herself that mirrored his sentiment. Despite their different worlds, they both wore masks to protect their true selves as from pain. "I feel like I've lost everything," she confessed quietly, allowing herself to be vulnerable for the first time since being rejected by Marcus. "When my husband threw me out, I didn't know where to turn or if I'd ever find my place again." Dorian reached out gently, covering her hand with his own, a simple gesture that sent warmth spiraling through her body. "You are not alone anymore," he assured her firmly but softly. "Your journey is just beginning. Together we will navigate these waters and carve out your path." For some reason, hearing those words brought tears to Alara's eyes. Not from sadness, but relief mingled with hope. She squeezed his hand lightly in gratitude, a connection blossoming between them, a shared understanding born from personal battles fought in solitude. "What if I fail?" she asked suddenly, doubt creeping back into her heart despite Dorian's reassurances. "Failure is part of growth," he replied earnestly, locking eyes with her again so that sincerity shone through every word. "Embrace it. Learn from it." She regarded him closely at that moment. The way he spoke about failure resonated deeply within her soul. It reflected clarity and wisdom that only seemed to come after countless trials faced bravely over lifetimes. In turn, Dorian began speaking of his own fears, the responsibility weighing down on him, and how isolation had become an unwanted companion. throughout ages spent ruling over darkness and light alike. "There are days when I question if I am making the right choices," he admitted slowly, revealing rare glimpses into himself. The powerful vampire king stripped bare by honesty under starlit skies. For one small heartbeat suspended in time, Alara saw not just strength, but fragility woven into Dorian's tale. A realization stirring something profound within them both. That their bond was no longer simply one born out of necessity. It was evolving into something beautifully complex, a friendship forged amidst vulnerability, where trust took root against adversity. As night unfurled around them, like dark velvet embroidered with stars overhead, casting shimmering reflections on their shared hopes and fears, it became evident that this connection was indeed unexpected, yet undeniably powerful. Something neither dared dismiss any longer. Alara caught herself smiling unexpectedly at him. Dorian had opened doors within her heart long ago, shuttered tight due to fear and neglect. And now new possibilities lingered. Like vines reaching toward sunlight, breaking free from darkness. And together, they would unveil their truths while navigating shadows, yet untreaded ahead on destiny's winding road, intertwined forevermore against fate's unfolding tapestry, woven delicately across realms unknown. As the sun began to rise, casting golden rays over the city, Alara and Dorian stood together in a secluded clearing on the outskirts of town. The tranquility of the early morning was a stark contrast to the storm of emotions that surged within Alara. She felt invigorated by their connection, but overwhelmed by the weight of what lay ahead. "Today, we begin your training," Dorian said, his voice laced with excitement and determination. "There is much for you to learn about our world and the role you are destined to play within it." Alara blinked, her heart racing at the prospect. "What do you mean by my role?" she asked, curiosity mingling with trepidation. Dorian turned to her, his blue eyes glinting in the soft light. "The vampire world is not simply a realm of darkness and instinct. It has its rules, traditions, and responsibilities. You are more than just a descendant of powerful magic. You are a bridge between our two worlds." "A bridge?" Alara echoed, trying to grasp his meaning. "Yes," he confirmed, taking a step closer. "Your unique heritage allows you to navigate both realms, human and supernatural. You have the potential to unite us and protect both sides from imminent threats." The enormity of his words made Alara's head spin. She had spent her life feeling like an outsider, struggling to fit into a world that often felt hostile. Now she was being told that she had a purpose that could change everything. "But I don't know anything about your world," she admitted, the fear creeping back into her voice. Dorian placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, grounding her in the moment. "That's why I'm here. To teach you. It will take time and dedication, but I believe you have what it takes." With a deep breath, Alara nodded, ready to accept this new challenge. "What do I need to learn first?" "The first lesson is understanding the essence of vampires," Dorian began as they walked through the lush greenery surrounding them. "We are not simply creatures of night. We are guardians of balance. Our existence is rooted in powerful magic that connects us to both the earth and the cosmos." Alara listened intently as he continued to explain how vampires were originally created as protectors against dark forces that sought to disrupt harmony in both realms. He spoke of ancient rituals, covens that had come together for protection, and powerful spells that were woven into their very being. "Magic binds us," he emphasized, his voice taking on a melodic quality. "It's what fuels our abilities, their origins long forgotten by time." "What abilities?" she asked eagerly. Strength beyond measure, speed that rivals even the swiftest of creatures, and an innate connection to nature. Dorian replied with a grin. Not to mention heightened senses, hearing distant sounds or feeling changes in the air around us. Alara's imagination ran wild with possibilities, picturing herself harnessing these powers with grace and confidence. But then doubt crept in again. But what if I can't do it? What if I fail? Dorian paused and turned to meet her gaze directly. Failure is part of growth, he said gently but firmly. You must allow yourself to embrace it. Every misstep is an opportunity for learning, a chance to find your strength. She took a deep breath, feeling both emboldened by his words, yet terrified at what lay ahead. Okay, she said softly, determination replacing uncertainty. I'm willing to try. Good, Dorian replied with an approving nod. We'll start with your physical training today, getting you accustomed to your body as it awakens. They began their practice under Dorian's watchful eye, his guidance firm yet encouraging as he demonstrated various exercises designed not only to build strength but also sharpen her reflexes. As Alara moved through these activities, each stretch igniting sensations she never knew possible, she felt an energy flowing within her, like an untapped wellspring awakening from slumber. Every heartbeat quickened her resolve, overtaking fear, until finally she found herself laughing amidst labored breaths. Dorian smiled at her enthusiasm. For him, too, this was more than mere training. It was nurturing a bond stronger than either had anticipated, a friendship steeped in shared purpose and trust. Hours passed quickly as they explored further aspects of vampire magic, such as weaving spells that connected them deeper into their surroundings while absorbing sunlight's warmth filtered through leaves above, their laughter mingling with whispers carried by gentle breezes. As dusk approached again, a familiar twilight cascading across the sky, Alara felt transformed. Vibrant energy pulsated within her veins. A realization blossomed somewhere deep inside. She was not just learning about vampires. She was becoming part of something grander, a legacy waiting for its rightful heir. Tomorrow brings more lessons, Dorian announced as they prepared to leave their hidden haven behind for this momentary respite under setting sun-tinged orange-pink shades, fading into darkness once more. Alara turned toward him with newfound determination, shining brightly in her eyes. Thank you for believing in me. Dorian smiled warmly, a promise lingering silently between them, that no matter what came next, they would face it together, bound by purpose beneath stars, igniting overhead like glimmers illuminating paths forward, waiting yet untreaded. Days turned into weeks as Alara immersed herself in her training with Dorian, learning to harness her newfound abilities and embrace her identity as a bridge between two worlds. She felt empowered, each lesson revealing more about herself and the magic that coursed through her veins. However, peace was fleeting, and shadows loomed on the horizon. One evening, as Alara practiced her spells in the clearing where they often trained, she sensed unease in the air. The gentle rustling of leaves and the chirping of crickets seemed to be replaced by an ominous silence that weighed heavily on her heart. Dorian noticed her shift in demeanor, his brow furrowing with concern. "What is it?" he asked, stepping closer. "I don't know," Alara replied, glancing around nervously. "It feels like something is off." Before Dorian could respond, a familiar voice echoed through the trees, sending a chill down Alara's spine. "Alara, there you are." Marcus emerged from the shadows, his face twisted in anger and betrayal. Alara's heart raced as she took a step back, instinctively seeking the protection of Dorian's presence. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, trying to maintain her composure. "I've come to find you." Marcus sneered, his tone dripping with venom. "You think you can just run away from me? You think I won't fight back?" Dorian stepped protectively in front of Alara, his posture radiating authority. "You should leave," he warned Marcus, his voice low and steady. "This is not a place for you." Marcus laughed bitterly, dismissing Dorian's warning. "And who do you think you are? Some kind of guardian angel? She's my wife. You have no idea what she's capable of." Alara felt a surge of anger rise within her, but she forced herself to stay calm. "That's exactly why I left, Marcus. Because you couldn't see who I truly am." "Who you truly are?" Marcus spat, taking a step closer as fury ignited in his eyes. "You're just a confused girl playing with fantasies. I know your secrets now, and I will expose them." Dorian shifted slightly, his presence unwavering as he regarded Marcus with disdain. "You're making a grave mistake if you think threatening her will get you anywhere," he said firmly. "Is that so?" Marcus challenged, glaring at Dorian before his gaze turned back to Alara. "I'll make sure everyone knows about your little transformation into whatever creature this man has convinced you to be. You think you can just abandon me without consequences?" Fear gripped Alara's heart at the thought of being exposed. The darkness that had been hidden within her now threatened to spill into the light. Her past life had been painful enough. The idea of everyone knowing her secrets filled her with dread. "Stop!" she shouted suddenly, surprising both men with the strength in her voice. "I'm not afraid of who I am anymore. You can't control me by spreading lies." Marcus faltered for a moment at her fierce declaration, but rage quickly took over again. "You think this is over? You think running off with him makes you safe? I won't let anyone take what's mine." Dorian stepped forward again, his eyes narrowing dangerously. "She is not yours to control. Alara has chosen her path, and there is power in that choice." "You don't know what power is," Marcus retorted defiantly. "I will show you both that there are consequences for abandoning your home." With that declaration hanging ominously in the air, Marcus turned and stormed away into the shadows from which he came, leaving Alara trembling with fear and uncertainty. "I'm so scared," she confessed quietly once they were alone again. "He won't stop until he tries to ruin everything." Dorian turned to her, his expression softening as he reached for her hand. "You must remember that you are stronger than you think," he reassured her gently. "The magic within you is powerful. It can protect you as long as you embrace it." Alara looked up at him, gratitude mingling with anxiety in her eyes. "But what if he tells others? What if they come after me?" "Then we will face it together," Dorian promised firmly. "You are not alone anymore. I will stand beside you against any threat." The bond they had forged deepened in that moment, solidifying their commitment to each other as they faced an uncertain future together. Alara took a shaky breath and nodded slowly. She had fought too hard to reclaim her identity to let anyone take it away now. As dusk fell around them once more, casting long shadows from the trees swaying softly in the breeze, Alara felt a flicker of determination ignite within her heart. A resolve to protect not only herself, but also the new world she was beginning to embrace. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would confront them head-on alongside Dorian, no longer hiding in fear, but stepping boldly into the light where truths awaited them both, ready to reclaim not just her future, but also the power that was rightfully hers. The tension in the air was palpable as Marcus's threats hung over Alara like a dark cloud. She could feel her heart racing, an instinctive fear gripping her tightly at the thought of what he might do. Dorian, sensing her distress, stepped closer, his presence a solid wall of strength beside her. "Leave now, Marcus," Dorian warned, his voice low but firm. "You have no right to threaten her." Marcus sneered, dismissing Dorian with a wave of his hand. "And what will you do about it? You think just because you're some powerful vampire king that you can intimidate me? I know Alara's secrets, and I will expose them." In that moment, something shifted in Dorian. His expression hardened, and a fierce light ignited in his eyes, an unmistakable sign of the power he held within. "You don't understand the forces you're toying with," he said, his voice deepening as he took a step forward, emanating an aura that made the air thrum with energy. With a swift motion, Dorian raised his hand, and the shadows around them seemed to respond to his command. Dark tendrils coiled from the ground, swirling around Marcus in a protective barrier, their movement fluid and alive. Marcus stumbled back, shock replacing his arrogance. "What are you doing?" he shouted, fear creeping into his voice as he struggled against the dark tendrils that now encircled him. Dorian stepped even closer, confidence radiating from him like heat from a flame. "I am protecting what is mine," he declared, his voice carrying an authority that left no room for argument. "Alara is not a pawn in your game. She is so much more than you can comprehend." Alara watched in awe as Dorian showcased his powers, the very essence of magic flowing through him like a river. She had felt hints of it during their training, his ability to command nature and weave spells. But seeing it manifest in such an intense manner filled her with both admiration and gratitude. "Let her go," Marcus yelled, panic lacing his tone as he fought against the shadows binding him. "You can't keep me from her." Dorian's expression remained unwavering. "You've made your choices, Marcus. You've chosen anger and jealousy over understanding. And now you must face the consequences." With a flick of Dorian's wrist, the shadows tightened slightly around Marcus, a warning rather than a punishment. The dark tendrils constricted just enough to remind him of the power wielded by those who understood the true nature of the world they lived in. "Enough!" Alara's voice broke through the tension as she stepped forward, surprising even herself with the strength behind her words. "I won't let you threaten me any longer, Marcus. You think you can control me through fear? I am not afraid of who I am anymore." Marcus's face twisted in disbelief at her transformation. "You're just confused," he spat back desperately, but the power in her voice was undeniable. "I'm not confused," Alara replied firmly. "I am learning to embrace my identity, my magic. You don't understand me or the world I'm stepping into." As Marcus struggled against the shadows, Dorian remained steady beside Alara, silently supporting her resolve. The bond they had formed allowed her to stand tall against the man who once held power over her life. "Let him go," Alara instructed Dorian softly, feeling a surge of compassion for Marcus despite everything. "He doesn't understand yet. He needs to learn." With a reluctant nod, Dorian released his grip on the shadows binding Marcus. The tendrils unraveled and retreated into the darkness surrounding them, leaving Marcus panting and disoriented. "Get out," Alara said firmly, her heart pounding but her resolve unwavering. "You've lost me. This isn't my home anymore." Marcus glared at her, fury flashing in his eyes as he staggered back into the shadows. "You'll regret this. I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are." But Alara stood her ground, refusing to let fear take hold again. As Marcus disappeared into the darkness, she turned to Dorian, who regarded her with pride and admiration. "You were magnificent," he said softly, reaching out to place a comforting hand on her shoulder. You faced him without hesitation. "I couldn't let him control me anymore," Alara replied, feeling a mix of relief and exhilaration wash over her. "I'm ready to embrace my magic and whatever comes next." Dorian smiled warmly, warmth flooding his blue eyes. "And I will be here to guide you every step of the way." As dusk settled around them once again, this time casting shadows not of fear but of newfound strength, Alara felt emboldened by the encounter. In facing Marcus and standing strong beside Dorian, she had taken significant strides toward reclaiming her identity. Whatever challenges awaited them next would be met together. No longer would she hide in fear, but step boldly into the light where she could truly become who she was always meant to be. A powerful force bridging two worlds together as one. The air hung heavy with tension as Alara stood at the brink of a monumental confrontation. The familiar streets of her past felt distant and foreign, having been catapulted into another realm of existence with Dorian by her side. But now, with her husband Marcus looming in the shadows, a palpable darkness threatened to pull her back into the life she thought she had left behind. Dorian noticed her expression shift from fierce determination to a flicker of fear. "You don't have to do this alone," he said reassuringly as they approached the place where they had first confronted Marcus. "Remember what we've trained for. You've grown stronger." Alara took a deep breath, gathering the courage she needed. "I know I have to face him," she replied quietly, feeling the weight of her past pressing down on her shoulders like a heavy coat. "But it scares me." As they reached the clearing illuminated by moonlight, she spotted Marcus ahead, his posture tense as he awaited their arrival. He looked different somehow. His eyes glinted with an anger that felt almost desperate. "You came back," Marcus sneered, his voice low and filled with bitterness. "I should have known you wouldn't stay away long." "I'm not here for you," Alara stated firmly, stepping forward. "This is my life now." Marcus took a threatening step closer, clenching his fists. "You think you can just walk away from me? You're still my wife. You don't get to choose who you are and discard everything we built together." "We built nothing," Alara shot back, anger fueling her words. "You built walls around me that made me feel trapped. I've spent too long living in your shadow." At that moment, Dorian moved slightly behind Alara, standing like an unwavering shield. "You need to understand that Alara is no longer under your control," he said calmly yet firmly. "Her path is her own. I don't care who you think you are." Marcus barked contemptuously at Dorian, while keeping his focus on Alara. "You think this creature has something special? She's just a confused girl playing dress-up. You're making a huge mistake if you believe she can compete in my world." "Your world?" Alara interrupted sharply. "You're right. I'm not part of it anymore. I'm ready to embrace who I truly am." Dorian placed a hand on her shoulder subtly, empowering her even further as she spoke confidently about reclaiming herself. Marcus's expression darkened further. Desperation bubbled beneath his anger as he struggled against the truth in Alara's words. "You think you can be powerful?" "Yes," Alara replied passionately, feeling the magic within summon courage that resonated across the entire clearing. "And if you try to expose me after everything I've learned and become, I'll show you just how strong I really am." With vehemence radiating from her very being, Dorian stepped forward to elevate their combined strength even more. He drew upon shadows around them and wove an intricate web of protective energy encircling both himself and Alara, a testimony to their unity amid chaos. dumbstruck by their unwavering display against him. Fear replaced arrogance on Marcus's face as he realized he was no longer facing powerless individuals, but rather two beings united by magic and purpose. "You will regret this," Marcus hissed through clenched teeth before attempting to stride away, with menace lurking around him like an impending storm. But something shifted within Alara. The knot of despair inside began unraveling with each word spoken firmly from her heart. Not merely fueled by anger, but encouraged by empowerment, radiated from Dorian's presence, bolstering confidence grounded deep within. "Marcus," she called out one last time before he could slip back into darkness once more. A plea echoing against lingering shadows cast over their futures, intertwined forevermore amid choice and fate. He paused, glancing over his shoulder at her determined stance. Softened yet strong underlined vision, gleaming brightly across their fates, resting so delicately upon destiny's weaving fabric, waiting patiently ahead. "Do not abandon yourself again," she pleaded again quietly. Compassion threading through steel resolve born anew, blossoming fortitude wrapped tightly surrounding warmth, created together emboldening power. Lingering golden sunrise, beckoning bright destiny come morning. Boundless forevermore. With winds shifting ever onward into unknowns, across vast horizons. Spent nurturing power, newfound beneath endless skies, interwoven meticulously growing. Like vines breaking free from tight confines, stretching toward open realms, awaiting their embrace once more. Whatever came next would unveil truths binding them. Together, walking alongside, uncovering ethereal legacies, placed quietly waiting unspoken beyond those earlier constraints forged long ago, leading home free. As the dusk deepened into night, Alara stood in the clearing, her heart racing with a mixture of apprehension and determination. The confrontation with Marcus had shaken her, but now it also ignited a fire within her that refused to be extinguished. She turned to Dorian, who stood beside her with an air of calm confidence, bolstering her resolve. "Are you ready for what comes next?" he asked softly, his blue eyes searching hers for any hint of doubt. Alara nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her past begin to lift. "I am," she replied firmly. "I've spent too long letting fear control my life. I won't let it dictate my future anymore." Dorian smiled at her words, pride radiating from him. "Embracing your identity is essential. But remember that your journey is just beginning. There will be challenges ahead, some that may test you more than you expect." Taking a deep breath, Alara squared her shoulders and felt the magic within her thrumming like a heartbeat. "I know," she said, "but I have you by my side now. That makes all the difference." With a reassuring nod from Dorian, they began to walk deeper into the woods, where ancient trees twisted toward the stars like sentinels guarding secrets long forgotten. Alara felt invigorated by the beauty surrounding them. This was no longer just a training ground, but a place where she could discover the full extent of her potential. "Let's start with some practical exercises," Dorian suggested as they reached a small clearing bathed in silver moonlight. "I want you to focus on harnessing your energy and connecting with your surroundings." Alara closed her eyes and took a moment to center herself, recalling their lessons about tapping into the natural elements around them. She envisioned energy flowing through her like water, fluid and powerful, and felt it respond to her call as she concentrated on strengthening that bond. "Now," Dorian prompted gently, his voice guiding her like a current through water, "feel the essence of nature surrounding you. Let it fill you and amplify your magic." As Alara focused on Dorian's words, she began to feel warmth coursing through her veins like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. She opened herself completely to the sensations around her. The rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant sound of flowing water nearby, all weaving together into an intricate tapestry of life. Dorian watched intently as Alara began to glow faintly from within, a sign that she was channeling magic effectively. His heart swelled with excitement. He knew this was only the beginning for her. "Good. Now try to push out that energy," he encouraged. "Use it to create something, a protective barrier or perhaps even an elemental form." With newfound strength building inside her, Alara extended her arms outward and imagined weaving threads of shimmering light between them. She envisioned forming a protective dome that would encase both herself and Dorian, a shield against any potential dangers lurking beyond their clearing. To Alara's astonishment, light flickered at her fingertips before spiraling outwards into vibrant colors. A dazzling array, dancing in accordance with her will, until it created an iridescent bubble around them both. "Keep it steady," Dorian urged gently as he stepped closer to inspect what she had conjured. Gasping softly at the sight, her own magic swirling before her in vivid hues, Alara felt exhilaration surging through every fiber of her being as she began mastering this part of herself, so wonderfully hidden away until now. "I did it!" she exclaimed joyfully as laughter bubbled forth unexpectedly at how easily everything seemed when embraced fully from within. The cool night air mixed playfully with delight, igniting euphoria among blossoming dreams, unfurling anew amidst shadowed realms, revealing untouched paths ahead, woven delicately together, boundless, yet strong-seeking destiny's embrace, waiting patiently. "Yes!" Dorian cheered alongside her enthusiasm, shining brightly, like stars twinkling overhead, layering warmth across their shared hopes, awaiting next chapters unfolding just beyond sight, waiting inevitably tied together, forging untrodden roads, beckoning adventure steadfast ever onward. With each passing moment spent, entwined within this new dawn, the connection growing between them blossomed into something deeply meaningful. It was more than mentorship. It was partnership nurtured through understanding, fortifying resilience. Learned battling adversities faced previously steering paths rewritten into illuminated futures free. Standing anchored beside one another against uncertainties still looming, as echoes lingered faintly where shadows once roamed fearlessly. They knew ultimately nothing could pull them apart. They were ready for whatever awaited next. Transformative journeys unfolding, intertwined forevermore. As the moon hung high in the night sky, illuminating the path before them, Alara took a moment to reflect on her journey. The lessons she had learned alongside Dorian echoed in her mind. The importance of embracing her identity, the value of resilience in the face of adversity, and the extraordinary love that had blossomed unexpectedly. Standing together in the clearing, Alara felt an aura of transformation surrounding her, not just in terms of magical powers, but also within her very essence. The fear and uncertainty that had once gripped her heart were gradually giving way to a profound acceptance of who she was. With Dorian by her side, she felt empowered to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. "It's strange how much everything has changed," she said softly, gazing into the distance. "Just a few weeks ago, I felt lost and trapped, and now I'm free." Dorian watched her with admiration. "You've taken enormous strides toward discovering your true self. That takes incredible strength and courage." "Courage?" Alara pondered aloud, a hint of disbelief crossing her face. "I felt like I was bouncing from one fear to the next." "That's precisely it," Dorian replied earnestly. "Real courage isn't about having no fear. It's about pushing through it despite everything else, and you've done just that. Ilara smiled at him, knowing he was right. She had faced Marcus, stood firm against threats, and embraced the magic within. Each step had been a testament to her growth. It feels so good to be able to control my own destiny now, she admitted. With resolve swelling inside her, Ilara shifted gears in their conversation. But I know that there are still challenges ahead, especially with Marcus lingering out there. Dorian nodded solemnly. Your past is still part of your journey, but it doesn't define you anymore. What matters is how you choose to write your future. Suddenly, determination surged within Ilara as she recalled the darkness that had once threatened to engulf not only her, but also others like her. The hidden magic and legacies waiting for recognition. I want to protect those who feel as lost as I did, she declared fiercely. I want to help others discover their potential beyond whatever shadows may loom over them. Dorian's expression lit up with pride at her words. And you will, he assured her confidently. Together, we can be those guardians who carry light into darkness. They shared a moment of silence, the air humming with promise and understanding. Before Dorian continued, emphasizing another key lesson from their trainings. Remember, the bond between us is powerful. It's more than partnership or friendship. It represents two realms united in purpose. Ilara cast him an inquisitive glance, but allowed his words to sink deeply within her soul. There was trust generated through vulnerability. They were allies beckoning fate together across thresholds stretching far beyond what either could foresee. I'm ready for everything this journey has to offer, she said finally, heart brimming with hope. With renewed vigor pulsing through them both, they ventured forth into the unknown, not merely braving potential futures filled with shadows threatening familiarity, but rather stepping towards a brighter reality forged by love overcoming fear. Together, they would explore what was possible when hearts unite across different worlds. Strengthened by shared dreams, yearning for light amid lingering uncertainties, swirling amongst deeper legacies, waiting patiently for discovery beyond paths previously treaded forgotten. As they walked hand in hand into what lay beyond the horizon before them, Ilara lifted her head high, side by side with Dorian, facing every challenge anew, reinforced by love, transcending boundaries, forged in time, rooted deep, invoking legacies, long forgotten, guiding their steps forward toward boundless adventures, awaiting realization. Together, they would reshape their worlds, filled with faith, nurtured in unexpected places, and emerge stronger than before, on wings that dared to soar beyond limitless skies, woven intricately together across cosmic destinies, uniting all threads intertwining eternally.